Hey everyone, Meteorologist Emery here in the Fox 19 First Alert Streaming Center. We're live for our Wednesday edition of 19 at Noon. Apologies for the slight delay. Some settings were changed on our computers. We had to modify those real quick and get those fixed, but we are here. We are talking about kind of a complex forecast with regards to tracking Francine and then also the heat moving in and some more activity coming in next week, which has altered the forecast a little bit. I was just working on it. I have updated the 7-day forecast, and we'll break all that down here in just a moment. But we are live here on this Wednesday edition, and what we're going to begin with is taking a look at the tropics. So let's go ahead and see if we can move the camera here to show you the latest on Hurricane Francine. So there it is, the satellite imagery. You see all that red showing you the cool cloud tops associated with what is a pretty powerful system. And it is currently Category 1. Winds are at 90 miles per hour, expected to remain a Category 1 as it makes landfall this evening along the Louisiana coast just west of New Orleans. And it's moving to the north and east pretty quickly at 13 miles per hour. And that track takes its way north and slows down into the upper Mississippi River Valley and close to the lower Ohio Valley by the end of the week into the weekend. And notice, again, it's moving pretty quickly now, but it is going to slow down. High pressure, kind of the culprit for slowing it down. And unfortunately, that high pressure is going to allow for the rain with the bands to be very limited here in the tri-state. It's going to be a very sharp cutoff, too, between measurable rainfall and absolutely no rainfall at all. And I'll show you that here in just a little bit. But in the meantime, today is going to be a dry, hot day in store. Pull up a live look on our rooftop camera here in Queensgate, looking towards downtown Cincinnati and also towards Paycor Stadium. And you can see just abundant sunshine, blue skies. And right now, temperatures have warmed up pretty quickly to 82 this hour. So last hour, we were in the mid-70s. Hour before that, we were in the low 70s. So temperatures are quickly jumping up because of this sunshine and dry air we have over top of us here heading into this midday. And we'll go ahead and take a look at that radar view and satellite view across the region. As you can see, things are looking dry. And in fact, what we'll do now is we'll zoom out to show you that activity. Already a lot of rain down towards Louisiana, New Orleans there, Alexandria, Baton Rouge. And let's see if there's any kind of watches or warnings for these spots. Let me turn off the cloud cover. It's going to probably block a lot of any... well, there are actually no... Okay, plenty of flood watches. So we've got a lot of flood watches in these locations, but no active warnings right now, at least no flash flood warning, no severe thunderstorm warning, no tornado warnings for those folks in Louisiana, which is good news. However, tropical systems have multifaceted impacts, whether it's storm surge, whether it's flooding, severe weather, all of those things could be present for those folks down there. But for us, very, very limited. In fact, what we'll do now is take a look at our forecast model and kind of show you what we're talking about here with this. So this is what we call the, this is our forecast model we have in-house. And this forecast model, you'll see the cloud cover increase tomorrow. So notice here these high thin clouds, these bands here, they're going to steadily increase through the day. This is the very outer, very far outer bands of the remnants of Francine. No moisture associated with it at the surface, but it is going to bring in some upper level clouds, and they'll be thicker as the day progresses on Thursday. We go into Friday, and notice, if you can see it here where I'm at, right down here towards the Louisville metro, rain begins to move in. And notice on Friday, we're going to have a hard time getting any moisture here into the tri-state. I do think that areas here, so let's say Ripley County, Switzerland, Carroll, Owen, Grant, Gallatin, maybe Ohio County, maybe portions of Bracken and Pendleton counties, maybe our southern counties will see something out of this. Not a lot, but something. And our far northern areas, I don't think you're going to see anything because of just the nature of how this has evolved. And we told you about this last weekend on 19 at 6 on both Saturday and Sunday. This was a system we were monitoring, and as I told you, there's going to be a lot of changes because that's just how tropical tracks work, especially if they're going to make their way all the way up into the Ohio Valley. There's a lot of factors that get involved with how that evolves and where the rain bands are, and so in this scenario here, it looks to be almost a complete miss for us in terms of seeing any rainfall. And so what we're going to do now is take a look at one forecast model. And this forecast model does bring in a little bit of moisture pretty much along and south of the Ohio River. And I think it's overdoing it to a certain extent, but there could be some locally heavy downpours for those areas to our far south and west. But notice the sharp cutoff. This is very classic setup of any kind of tropical system. Tropical systems, around here at least, there's usually a sharp cutoff between areas that do see a good soaking rain and areas that see absolutely nothing. And in this scenario, you can see we do have areas that could see, well, high amounts of rain, where a lot of locations are seeing little to none, and a lot of locations seeing absolutely nothing. So again, I think this is a very high number, and I don't think we'll see numbers quite that high. But could we see an area close to a half an inch of rain? I say it's possible, but it's not a great confidence of that happening. I think most of this will be less than a half an inch in the Fox 19 Now viewing area. Though again, if anyone's going to see anything higher, it's going to be down towards Warsaw, Carrollton, Owenton, maybe down towards southern Ripley County, portions of Switzerland County, towards Cotton Township, maybe into southern Grant County, to the south of Dry Ridge, towards Williamstown maybe. But again, other than that, I think most locations will see far less, if anything, from that. So I want to show one more thing, and then we'll go ahead and reveal the 7-day forecast. Because, again, there are some changes to this. And mind you, this particular forecast model is going to show something that I don't fully agree with right now, and I will explain that here in just a moment. But it's been about 8 minutes or so since we've been on live on Facebook and on YouTube. I want to remind you, we always look at comments and questions on our YouTube page, both the Fox 19 Facebook page as well as my Facebook page at Ethan Emery WX. And the respectful comments get answered, but we ignore the ones who are trying to give other people a bad day. Because, yeah. All right. Let's see real quick. No comments on my Facebook page. Let's look at the Fox 19 Facebook page real quick. Hey, we got a couple. Jess, this heat to me has been so bad this year. I'm ready to bypass fall and head straight into winter, maybe. We don't see that in the forecast anytime soon, unfortunately. Tracy saying early fall. Yeah, we're not looking at much in the way of fall-like conditions, at least in the next 7 to really 14-day forecast, just given the current pattern set up and the fact that it's been so dry. The fact that it's been dry has, I think, aided in preventing us from getting a little bit cooler than what we really need to have. We've had cool mornings, but pretty warm and even hot afternoons here in the tri-state. But we are looking at, again, some changes with the 7-day forecast I made, and you'll see the reflection of the fact that temperatures do go down a little bit next week, and I'll show you why here now that I've answered all the comments. All right, so this particular forecast model behind me, this is Francine. It shows that band of rain. This model, though, is a little, I think, overdone with that initial band. The band does come into the region, but I think it's a little bit overdone in terms of the amount of moisture. And it's really zoomed out here. But I do want to point your attention to what's happening here, over towards the Atlantic along the Carolina coastline. This is going to be what looks like a low pressure system that develops just with the given conditions. And so it's going to have a lot of tropical moisture associated with it. But watch what happens with this. It's going to bring in some good soaking rains down over towards what looks like Myrtle Beach, Charleston, over towards Charlotte. But here's the thing. This system has to overcome a lot of topography or change in elevation. So, of course, here you've got the beaches, you've got the swamp areas, very low-lying areas. But here you have the Appalachian Mountains. This thing has to cross over that. And for a meteorology lesson of the day, when a parcel has to rise up over that, it's going to dump a lot of rain. But once it goes over that, it dries itself out. Now, there could be a scenario where we could see some rain out of this, though it would be a pretty light amount. But this model, this is where I don't agree with it. It wants to continue to bring heavy rain into this region. And I just don't see that happening. There's got to be some external force working with this. And I don't see that right now. So for the time being, we're going to introduce cloud cover, thicker cloud cover for Tuesday, Wednesday, and part of Thursday of next week because of this system. Because models do agree that this does develop, and it's been agreeing with this for a couple of days now. So I buy into the fact that we could see some development, not looking like a tropical system. It's developing in the tropics, but it's not. There's a different dynamic working with it. Case in point, it's going to be a low-pressure system that has a lot of moisture associated with it when it impacts folks in the Carolinas and portions of Virginia. But it has to overcome the mountains here. That's what I'm getting to. So we're going to look at a lot of thick cloud cover, I believe, starting Tuesday midday, lasting through at least part of Thursday, and that will limit temperatures to a certain degree. It'll still be warm. It'll still be above normal for what we should see this time of year in the tri-state, but it at least will be in check compared to what it looked like a couple days ago in terms of how warm it's going to be. So is it encouraging? Yes, but it's not exactly what a lot of you probably want. So here's that 7-day forecast I updated. It's sunny and hot today, a high of 90. Clouds increase for your Thursday up to 89, though some spots could probably stay in the mid-80s depending on when you see that thicker cloud cover move in. Again, I still think there's going to be a few showers on Friday, but most of that activity will be along and south of the Ohio River. So areas north of the Ohio River, I think you're going to be dry. At best, maybe a sprinkle, but I don't foresee it being much more than that. High of 83. Saturday, mostly cloudy, 84. Sunday, the clouds will begin to decrease, 86, getting a little bit warmer because we get some of that sunshine aided in the afternoon. 85 for your Monday. Then Tuesday of next week, that's when the clouds begin to increase. That's that system I was telling you about that's over, that will develop over towards the Atlantic and to the Carolina coast. And I did lower temperatures a little bit because of that cloud cover. And going beyond the 7-day forecast, again, cloud cover for next Wednesday and Thursday will keep highs in the low to mid-80s. But then that following weekend, it does look like we warm back up in the mid to even upper 80s. And I'll show you that here on this temperature map that's across the region. So this is high temperatures. It's just what you saw, but it's only high temperatures. And it kind of shows you other spots across the Ohio Valley region, the Mississippi River Valley, the Southeast, New England, Central and High Plains. You get the gist. But it shows that warm air mass overhead for us from the High Plains all the way to the Great Lakes region, Ohio Valley region. And the cool air here this is obviously Francine. So you can see we have the temperatures still warm on Friday, but it takes a little bit of a hit because of these bands and because of the thicker cloud cover. Going into the weekend, we've got the mid-80s in store despite the cloud cover. And we are also looking at early next week staying warm. But take a look at that. Tuesday, this cloud cover that's from that system is going to affect the temperatures. Notice some of the yellow and even the green here, indicating that temperatures will take a little bit of a hit. We go into Wednesday, as I mentioned, we're going to stay, reloads, there we go, stay into those mid-80s because of the cloud cover. And then by Thursday, we're still in the mid-80s. But notice that cloud cover is keeping the temperatures around this region at a moderate level. So it's still warm, absolutely, but it's manageable, especially when you compare it to what's happening further west. Upper 80s, low 90s towards Kansas City, St. Louis, down to Arkansas, and even in the mid 90s towards Oklahoma City and Topeka, Kansas, and even Wichita and those locations out there. We go into Friday of next week, and notice that. We've got mid 80s, mid to even upper 80s, and then even into Saturday, still looking like the mid to upper 80s. Now that being said, I mentioned this on 19 at 6. There is the potential for a pattern shift. Don't get your hopes up on this. Just cross your fingers and let's hope for the best here. But there is the potential right here, this forecast model. Now granted, this is 10 days out. So a lot can change. But I'm keeping my eye on this. There is a frontal system that looks a little potent, and it could make its way into the Ohio Valley by the end of the month, or towards the end of the month. So keep an eye out for September 24th, 25th maybe, to see a drop in temperatures. And that could be good news. That being said, with that, will it have a lot of moisture with it? It's too hard to tell right now. But it does look like cooler air might be moving in by the end of the month in regards to seeing more fall-like conditions. But, of course, as we get closer, we'll have to tweak that forecast. But I'm telling you right now, I think this is probably our best opportunity to see some fall-like temperatures in the tri-state. Until then, we've got the cloud cover from Francine and the cloud cover from the system moving in Tuesday through Thursday in the region. That's going to limit high temperatures. Otherwise, we're looking at mid-80s. Pretty warm for early to mid-September, for sure. So that's what we got working with. And here is that 7-day forecast once again. Molly says, hello, Ethan. Hope we get rain soon. Our pond needs it. Yeah, Steve actually sent me some photos of that dry pond, and I'm going to show those tomorrow on Fox 19. I'm filling in for Steve. Steve is off the rest of the week, taking some much-needed time off. He deserves some time off, even though he's been working behind the scenes still. I'm sure you're watching, Steve. But I'll be filling in for him tomorrow and Friday, and I'm going to show those photos, Molly, tomorrow, just to highlight how severe the drought conditions have been. In fact, my hometown, Hillsboro, Ohio, the city of Hillsboro issued a Phase 2 water emergency, meaning pretty much that you can't use water to water your lawn, water your garden, wash your car. They're on a low water supply, so they really are taking the measures necessary to conserve that water. And not to mention, as I mentioned over the weekend, Highland, Clinton, Brown, and Adams counties are all under a disaster declaration from the Department of Agriculture, which allows farmers to get a small business loan to help overcome the deficit they've probably dealt with the drought damaging or killing crops. So it's, even though it's hotter, even though it's drier, some people might like it, but it's really a horrible thing for folks who try to make a living on, trying to farm and things like that. So it is going to be pretty warm in the 7-day forecast. Our average highs are in the upper 70s and low 80s, and we're nowhere close to that. It's going to be pretty hot next couple of days. A little bit of relief for the weekend with the cloud cover, and then next week some uncertainty, but we are looking at cloud cover at least Tuesday and Wednesday and part of Thursday next week, which will keep highs in the low to mid 80s. So we're not looking at upper 80s and low 90s per se, aside from today and tomorrow, but at least temperatures are in check due to that cloud cover. Molly asking, do you know if Pleasant Plain is? I believe Pleasant Plain is under a moderate drought right now. But regardless, I say whether it's the category of moderate drought to extreme drought, a drought is bad. it has impacts that go beyond the time period of which you are in a drought, because it, like I said, it affects farmers. It can affect them to the point where there's less crop yield, which means they have to import more feed for agriculture or for animals, and that drives the prices up for, if you're selling the meat from that. And it's this process where it has long-lasting effects, not just with weather, but also economically speaking. Although that's not why we're here. I'm just letting you know that it has big impacts, and that's why we discuss it so much. So, people asking about different locations with the drought. This gets issued and updated tomorrow. But Maysville, Sean asking, moderate drought. For you, Molly, moderate drought. But like I said, it updates tomorrow, and I would not be surprised to see this further expand, even the severe drought probably expanding further west as well. But this will be updated tomorrow morning at 8:30. Frank and Catherine will probably, actually Ashley's filling in. The schedule's kind of weird this week. Ashley should be giving you that update during the morning X of the drought monitor. She's also filling in tonight for Steve. And I have to go out and report today because Wednesdays are my reporting days. So I have to log off of here because I got to get ready to go to Sharonville for my story today. So with that being said, thank you all so much for joining us here on this Wednesday edition of 19 at Noon. We always appreciate you folks joining us and asking questions and joining in the conversations. But yeah, Francine impacts look very minimal to none for us here in the tri-state. So not much in the way of rain relief. It's going to be pretty dry over the next 7 days, but temperatures at least will be modest compared to what it could be if it weren't for the cloud cover from Francine as well as the system moving into the region next week. So again, thank you all so much for joining us here on this Wednesday edition of 19 at Noon.